Ed Leadership Program. Okay. Got it. We are in the School of Education and Leadership, and our side is the leadership side of the school. And we have several programs. 4 of the programs are directly related to state certification. And these certifications or licenses are principal, program administrator, superintendent, and a new certificate this year is called CTE, or Career and Technical Education. And we also have the Ed Leadership concentration of the EDD in our program. And so we are very strongly connected to state regulations and state expectations and requirements. And our master is PESB, which is PESB, and it's the Professional Educators Standards Board. And they develop all of the regulations as well as monitor, review, and accredit.
Thank you, Marge.
We have very few people in a master degree program. I would say maybe 20% are in master degree because most of our students are teachers already, and they're usually teacher leaders who have been recognized by their principal or by their peers to and encouraged to enter a different level of education, which is the leadership area. So most of them already have a master degree, and many of them have a master degree in curriculum and supervision.
Thank you, Marge. And Mike, hang on just a second. I'm going to introduce a couple of individuals here that are new to CIC. Trying to figure out the acronym there. So we have so a new member of CIC is Esther Hoffman. And Esther, wonderful to have you. You want to say hello?
Yeah, hi everyone. I've met some of you in our kickoff overview for the migration work, which, as you all know, is underway right now. I guess I just had my 90-day review, so 90 days and a couple. I started with CityU as the assistant director. I'm very passionate about curriculum design, and data is a big part of what I've always used. I am a teacher, Margaret, so I have those master's degrees and those leaderships, and I come from a K-12 background, but also an international background in terms of program and educational curriculum design and e-learning design. So that's a little bit about me. Right now it's full on the migration into Brightspace. So I'm just here to listen and learn about the process today.
Thank you, Esther. And we also have Sumatra Sengupta. He is the Dean of School of Business and Management. Sumatra.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate you inviting me. I'm listening in, first meeting. I started, I think, October 25th. So coming on a month, come from the industry. I spent 25 years in the industry, actually 24. And then I did do a couple of higher education assignments as well. Former partner with Ernst & Young, amongst a few other places. I was also at Booz Allen, as well as ran Hitachi's manufacturing business up and down the coast. And then I ended up running a fairly large agriculture company for Brampton. So enjoy higher education, or as I call it, the business of higher education, because that's what we are in. And CityU, I think we have some amazing offers, and I'm excited to hear what Laura and Payam have to respond. So thank you for the comments. I did read the comments, and Laura and I went over some of the responses. So excited to see what the committee has to say about our programs. And thank you for letting me listen in.
Very well. Thank you so much.
Welcome to City University.
Very good. So, Mike, I'm going to give you the floor. We have until 10:30. I know we took a few minutes of time, so if you happen to go over a couple of minutes, I'd be okay with that. But you have the floor.
Okay.
Alrighty, you
um,
should be seeing our APAR document on your screen now. You all seeing that?
Yes.
Can you read the text on it? Or do I need to make it bigger?
That seems okay.
That's fine, Mike.
Okay,
Okay, you all have heard a little bit about the Ed Leadership Program. I want to thank you for the comments that you made. I also want to say that I want to thank Mike because he's been kind of our data person and been the recorder for this project. This is the first time that we're going through this particular process. You know, we've gone through the APAR in the past. So I was quite curious about how it was all going to progress. And so far, I must say, I'm very pleased with how it's moving along. I mentioned to you that very few of our students are in the master degree program. I believe Northwest Accreditation is specifically interested in degree programs. And we've kind of had an issue with this report historically because most of our students are certificate students and not degree students. That's just kind of a background. We're going to give you only the highlights because we don't believe that we will give a page-to-page report. I mentioned to you earlier that what is really important to us is the accreditation. The regulatory body of PESB provides the oversight and the monitoring and the recommendations. So we're going to move to that particular section, and you call it accreditation. And we're going to begin with what was identified by PESB as 2 areas of concern. And these areas of concern occurred for 2 consecutive years. So we were getting concerned ourselves, and we contested one of the concerns and really did not even receive a response from the state. The first indicator exception is what they call the concern. Number 1 is regarding student demographics. And what they're interested in and what they stated was that our demographics in our Ed Leadership Program should match the university's demographics. And PESB is very concerned about diversity. And so when they designated this particular concern for past couple of years, each year we contested that and said, well, we have a lot of students who are international students. And that's not a pool that we draw from. The pool that we draw from is the teacher pool, because in order to enter our program, they must have 3 years experience as a teacher. So that's the pool that we have to draw from. But we never did receive a response, and they continued to bring this indicator exception up to us. So if you look at this particular chart, in the first column is the PESB data that was submitted this year. At one time, the data office within the School of Ed was managed by Ashley McLaren, and then she department, and it is now managed by Brian Carter. Well, he was trying to clean up all of the data And this is the data that he just submitted to the state. The second column is included because we believe, even if the state did not identify this, we believe that we need to have faculty of color, that our faculty needs to match the demographics of our students. So we keep very close review of this data. The third column is the All City U student demographic, and this came from Sherry Sullivan. And this is the data that the state says must match our students. The fourth column is very important one because it's the teacher pool. In the state of Washington, as you can see, in the row called people of color, there are only 12% teachers of color in the state of Washington, and we're drawing from that pool. So if you look at that row, people of color, in the first column, we have 34.5%. The state said it has to match the third column. And the third column is 31.16. So we're above that. So it's positive, you know, it's a good report from the state standpoint, although we still contest what we mentioned earlier. So,
Marge, if you don't mind, I'd like to interject a statement.
Okay.
In that, what PESB is saying we should match in terms of our City U all students population is not only our people of color percentage here, but also added in this 8.2% of non-resident alien that accounts for our international students. So they're
Right,
saying that
yeah,
we should have
yeah.
40% people of color in our program.
well, and this is where we're contesting it because I'm not going to repeat while we're doing that. But moving on, our faculty of color is 32%, and we feel good about that. Anything over a third of our faculty being of color is important to us. We have very few openings in our Ed Leadership program, but when we do, we intentionally seek candidates of color. So this is a good number. Now, the 12% of the Washington teachers compared to the 34%, to me, this is outstanding that we're able to draw 34% teachers of color when the pool in the state is only 12%. So this is kind of a good report for the state this year, considering where they're coming from. The next issue had to do with the report being late. Now, this was not within the control of Ed Leadership. This was the assessment office within the School of Education. But they had their concerns about data gathering and so on. And since Mike is our program's data guru, I'm going to have him discuss this particular exception.
About 3 years ago, the PESB stopped doing site-based program reviews, which are major events in the life of anybody who's in the program at that time. But they stopped doing those site-based data reviews and instead put in what they called data indicators. In other words, the programs would report to the state various forms of data, and then the state would determine whether data we reported in any given category was in or outside of their parameters. And the demographics parameters that Marge just talked about, first exception, is one of them. But one of the realizations that we, and in fact, practically all universities found when the state went to a data indicator model was that, one, we didn't have systems. We didn't have data systems in place to be able to collect and report that data in an organized and systematic way. The other is that we didn't have data collection protocols that called for cross-department cooperation, for instance, from advisors when they collect information from new students or as particularly from students in our program. So part of our lateness in submitting had to do with the fact that we didn't have data to report in some cases. And we're working on these data systems to be able to put into place and make work well. And that's a problem that not only Ed Leadership has, it's a problem across the entire School of Education and Leadership. But Brian Carter is the School of Education and Leadership's director data director for PESB reporting purposes. And he says that we have made good progress as a university in providing the systems. We are not entirely there yet. And we're also catching up in terms of our protocols for collecting data and reporting. So that's good news there. I would hope that anytime we hear a request from Brian Carter about needs he has from the university to complete his data reporting mandates, that we give him good support. And we hear that he has a good word from our provost. So we're headed in the right direction.
Can I interrupt and just kind of emphasize the committee as another person here in SEL and representative on the committee that you'll see some of this coming back. We'll try to make it more abbreviated when the Teacher Cert program reports in February, I believe. I may be off, it may be March. And the issues with PESB are real in terms of how they're doing data and almost being data driving by the data and not fully understanding what it means. This is something that I was just at the meetings of the Washington Association of the Colleges of Teacher Education, and other universities were saying the same thing to PESB, that you have these data tools, but you're not getting at the substance of what you really want. And so our school, along with others, is trying to make changes, but two, our school, as Mike mentioned, is doing the best it can with the current requirements to go ahead and supply the data anyway that PESB wants. And moving Brian, who was a faculty member, as opposed to what we had before, to be in charge of those efforts has been really helpful because he has inside track knowledge of what PESB and the state are after. So sorry for the interruption, but I just wanted to emphasize that for everybody.
That is very good enhancement of some of our concerns as well. And there is discussion right now about PESB hopefully making some changes, but in the meantime, we'll have to do the best that we can in moving forward. And yes, teacher certification undergoes the same kind of rigid oversight as we have in leadership. Okay.
All right, ready to move on to goals, Marge?
We're going to move to future because future and vision and looking forward is very important to a program. So let's move to goal number 1. And that's going to be, I think, page 11, I'm not sure.
Page 11 should be on your screen now.
Okay. So the first goal has to do with personalization. And we truly believe what Peter Drucker has said. You need to build on your strengths. And so we have found through all of these surveys and feedback that we receive, EOC results and so on, that the personalization is very important to our students. And so we want to be sure that we keep that uppermost. They say that's the reason they came to City U, because it's not, the traditional rigid adherence to rules. And so from the very beginning, when I interview the students, we try to personalize the program. We do, in 4A, we use waivers. The students can challenge courses, equivalents, and students come to us very, very talented, because they're, future leaders have been recognized, and so they can challenge some courses. And they have also, in some districts, they have a leadership academy already, and we do allow for waivers of some courses due to their involvement in the leadership academy. Now, during the program, we call Mike and Terry program coordinators. They and the faculty and the field supervisors continue the personalization and the customization, so that we're always meeting the needs and interests of our students. And we anticipate that this will, give them the opportunity to share their experience with others, because word of mouth has been the best tool for enrollment increase. And lastly, the advisors also play a key role in the personalization. We work very closely with the advisors, and we hear a lot of positive feedback about how they try to personalize the process. Okay, the next, Mike.
Yes, our second of 3 goals, if I can get it to stay on the screen here, is instructor quality. We targeted instructor quality for a goal, not because we're dissatisfied with the quality of our instructors give to our students. We're very happy. Our end of course evaluations average a few ticks above the School of Education and Leadership, and they average a few ticks more than City U overall's average. So we're very pleased with, we have no scores from any instructor that are unsatisfactory. So we're engaged in the process of simply raising performance for the sake of achieving excellence. That's where we like to work. But we targeted instructor quality here primarily for the reason that all of you might do the same, simply because we're transitioning at the end of this quarter out of Blackboard and into Brightspace, and we don't want to see our students' perceptions of instructor quality nor course quality fall. We strive to maintain or maybe even get a little bit of extra mileage on our EOCE scores and feedback that students give to us. So I know that's a common concern that we have across the university, so I don't need to elaborate, I don't believe.
Okay, let's move to 2-year goals. 2A is very important to our program. And 2A says that we want to reduce the ed leadership tuition. We collaborated with the enrollment advisors who helped us gather data on tuition rates for ed leadership programs in other universities. And what we found, together with the enrollment advisors, is that our tuition is at the highest end or higher end. And so we have proposed to the provost and the president that our tuition be reduced to the graduate level tuition, we are a graduate program. And for some reason, the tuition is above the graduate level. So we are proposing to reduce the tuition, to bring it down to the graduate level tuition. We also have a second proposal, and that proposal is to give a tuition discount of 25% to alumni coming back to City University. And we think that this kind of builds a ladder for alumni. You know, they get their teacher cert, they come back and get their leadership cert, and hopefully come back and get their doctorate or EDS. And so it is now on the president's desk. We have heard positive reports about how the executive level is feeling about this. They don't want our program to be at the highest end. So we expect, you know, positive news on it, but we don't want to make any assumptions until, you know, it becomes official. All right, how are we on time, Greg?
You are at 10:28 right now, so 3-4 minutes kind of a thing. And
Okay.
I would like to make sure that if there are any questions, please,
Interject.
ask them up, ask
Yeah.
them.
Okay. The next one is it's a frustrating objective because we haven't had a lot of good success. Since it has to do with data, Mike is gonna discuss this.
Well, yeah, over the last couple of years, especially, Ed Leadership has had some challenges with enrollment. And frankly, we're not alone in that, as we've heard from our president, and frankly, we hear from other universities who offer similar kinds of programs. So what we have done over that period, especially since the pandemic started, and we haven't been able to stand any closer than 6 feet to people that we work with, is we have expanded our outreach database containing names and contact information for key district administrators, principals, assistant principals, office managers, people whom we used to do in-school lunch chats with, to talk with them about who their up and coming leaders are in their buildings, who we might talk to about starting a program with CityU. So over the last 2 years and into the foreseeable future, our direct mailing efforts to sell our programs, to market our programs to potential students has become extremely important to us. And I don't believe there are very many other programs in the university that do this kind of outreach. It's frankly quite time consuming to build and to maintain the database, and then to go through the direct mailing through mail merges. But if we're to continue to be successful in that outreach effort, well, we need administrative assistance support and time to be able to manage these databases, to update them annually as the new Washington Educator Guides comes out, basically to make them usable for these purposes. Ideally, we'd like to use that person's time to be able to mine contact information and names from student files, paper files that exist on site in Seattle, so that we can contact some of those people who were in our programs and in teacher cert programs and in counseling programs before 2012, when the current PeopleSoft system started up. So that's what we have in mind. And there are benefits not only for the educational leadership program, but also for teacher certification, for counseling, and potentially for other programs in the university who might want to market to those folks too. So that's what we're asking for, is administrative assistant time. So far, we've been kind of frustrated. We've been frustrated at not being able to get administrative assistant time. And it's not that we don't have sympathetic ears in Mariah. We do. It's just that there are other things that have been prioritized higher. So we're looking at any kind of support that we can get.
Okay, the next 2C relates to
Marge, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cut in here. We are going to need to move to our next program at this point. And so if there are any final questions from anybody, that now is the time for that, for Marge and
Can I ask a quick question, or I see Joel's up there first?
Yeah, hi, Joel here. Quick question, Marge. Any consideration one day of joining the PESB board? Because that certainly is an opportunity to, I know there's no vacancies now on the board, but certainly to be on the inside and have these discussions move into the future. It might be a consideration at some point to have one of the faculty members be on that PESB board to help even shape policy that would impact our programs for the future.
I think there is one university spot.
Okay.
And so it's very hard to get on it. And they're very deliberate in who they appoint. You know, they have to have teacher, you have to have administrator, you got one university person. You have to have people from rural districts, you know, people from diverse districts, people from representation from urban,
right.
yeah, and so on. But, you know, it'd be a great idea if we could have somebody there.
We'll keep working on it. One day we'll get a CDU person on that board. All right, thanks. No other questions. Thanks, Greg.
thank you. Heather, do you have one?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly ask if you'd be willing and able to sit down and just do some brainstorming between Canada and the US around the M.Ed Leadership Program and really look at our marketing strategies and what we need to do in both countries, because I think that we could build off each other. So it's just a question put out there. If you want to do that, let me know.
Yeah, yeah. I think, you know, any collaborative effort to recruit will be important, and we'd, you know, love to join any effort like that.
Good comment, Heather. Thank you.
But and perhaps this will impact our need for more data mining and, you know, systems and help with the databases.
I'm just going to put this out here. I think data is important. However, I think the more that I've been reading and researching, it's how we address people and how we build on emotion. And so it's not even just numbers, it's how do we put things out there so it tracks them in terms of their heart and their soul and knowing what that's what they want to do. I don't have the answers. However, I think if we could brainstorm together, and it doesn't just have to be leadership. However, I think there's really good benefit in how do we do our marketing? And I'll be quiet because I know we need to move on to the next program.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mike, go ahead and unshare, and we will bring it in Laura Williamson with the MBA. So Laura, go ahead and get into Teams, and you are welcome to open up the MBA in the Teams page so you can scroll as you're able to talk.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Before you begin, do we need to be involved?
Marge and Mike, you are welcome to leave. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Bye, Marge and Mike.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, one second. Let me find it. Where am I going? Teams. Okay, I'm here.
Teams, continuous
And
improvement.
it's in Teams.
General files,
There it is. There it is. And which one am I doing right now?
MBA.
MBA.
It's a year one. So yeah, you had a 5-year last year.
Perf. Did I? It seems so long ago, Greg.
5 years.
We're in pandemic time. It's like 10 years. Okay, how is this working? You want me to just go through the comments?
Yeah, go ahead and you should be able to share it. We don't see it yet.
You just said that, didn't you? Hold on. Sorry, I was multitasking. Okay, let's get the correct file.
And
Sure.
Laura, you have
How about now?
until, why don't you take until like 11:05 or something like that, if you need it, right?
Okay, and so the process for this meeting is just to kind of go through the comments.
Yeah, so you're gonna want to, so you have 30 minutes, and we want to learn about your program, right? From your perspective, from the PD perspective, areas that you're concerned about, areas that are areas you want to focus on. And, with regard to the comments and things of that nature, yeah, go through those. If there's any real important ones that you need to address, that's the best way to approach this.
Okay, sure. Sounds good. Alrighty, so the MBA program has gone through a major revision. I think, I'm not sure who's all in this meeting. Let me see who the participants are. Pretty sure everyone here knows that. Yeah. So what I had done probably 2 years ago now is convened our what was then our MBA Industry Advisory Board. And we had the task of looking at current program outcomes and cultivating new program outcomes. And I walked them through an activity to do that. And then in addition to those, we also did pretty extensive external analysis, a PESTEL essentially, given that the MBA is offered in nearly every partnership, if not every. And so that's a lot of different demographic markets. And we were really concerned. Well, I was very concerned. You can't just change the MBA program. And I knew that, but I also knew that I was facing a really difficult, saturated market. We have one-year MBAs now, and every university has an MBA. The online ones, was such a red ocean, I guess I would say, for MBA. So what to do about that, right? I knew that it was probably going to be an uphill battle, but we were hemorrhaging enrollments. And so I knew I had to do something. So all of that work and all of that research got us to these 4 program outcomes that you see. Some of the research, well, I don't have too much in here about the titles and the course descriptions and the course assignments and whatnot, but a lot of effort was put into creating titles, descriptions, and assessments that would be that could be used for marketing, that would be attractive to potential students who, specifically for the MBA program, are very, very much consumers of this product, and they have a lot of options. And so we wanted to have some really attractive, we just wanted it to be really attractive. So we pulled titles and ideas from, there's actually a map that I didn't share with you, but that shows where a lot of these came from, really all over the country, from Ivies to locals, to come up with different and interesting combinations of things like creative thinking and the art of innovation is an example. So anyway, long story short, that was the idea. It took quite a bit of time to come to that. We're also, some of the challenges for the MBA program aren't only market, it's also in how the program is delivered. And one of our biggest challenges is finding faculty, qualified faculty, willing to be paid pretty much the lowest rate in the industry for the most amount of work. So coming downtown Seattle once a week, every week, for very low money, with really high expectations. You all are faculty members, so you know, and some of you, I'm sure, teach at other university. I've been with 5 universities in my time as a faculty member, 6 now. CityU's standards are pretty high. We're very, very, very stringent. And so faculty, it's tough to find someone who's willing to, they really got to love teaching, really put in the amount of time and hours that it takes to hit the mark for us. That's definitely been a challenge. So that's sort of an overall picture. There's been a lot of changes. I'll go ahead and start walking through, and feel free to comment. I'm sure I won't take all of that time.
I do have a question. So
Sure.
there is just the 4 PLOs.
Yes.
Wow, that's like a
Why?
huge drop. I mean, didn't you used to have 9?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like these a lot. They're there's a lot to them.
There's a lot to them. They could be broken out to 9. So I went through a process with an outside consulting firm called Nerdy to condense. They helped with the language. The idea to condense came from our contacts with ACBSP. And Greg, I think you're in some of those trainings and whatnot that Scott sent us to. The idea came from Diane Hillrud, I think is how you pronounce her last name. I've talked to her quite a bit subsequent to that training. It was really her notion. Like Laura, she said, Laura, 9's too much. Yeah. You're gonna kill your faculty. You're gonna kill it's way too much to track. It's too much. You're gonna want to cut it in half. And I thought that's such a great point. And it's like rubric fatigue was the word, or how she articulated it. And I thought that was really useful. So 4 is what we landed on with the process. And I think they're pretty good too. But like you said, Greg, there's a lot of meat in there. So it could easily be fleshed out to 8 again or 9. But anyway, it's fine. So I don't know if we need any commenting on the DEI. I understand there is a committee for that, and a lot of work is being done around that. So I'm just sort of waiting for that to reveal itself to us as the greater CityU community and what the expectations are for us to incorporate into our programs. And with respect to this particular comment, I put that it's in the capstone. We did call it out, DEI specifically to the capstone, and that's the last course that is not yet finished development for the MBA. Every other course is done. And we, as understandably, those of you're all faculty members, that the capstone is like the abstract of your paper. You do it last. And what we include in it, we're still discussing. I know Sumantra's on the call right now. He's got some ideas about capstones. So we'll be discussing what exactly to include in that and what to have it look like. I personally have some strong opinions about it as well, but we'll see organizationally what we land on as the right mix. Is it like project-based, and is it outside firms coming in? And there's a lot of ideas going around on what to do with a graduate business program capstone. It's definitely going to be very different from the previous iteration of the MBA. For those of you who knew those courses, these are very different. Okay, so I'll push on. So I think Steve had a question there. There's my answer. We're going to wait to see. Heather, I saw that you commented quite a bit in each of my programs about this, and you're right. It is, how to bring in faculty, how to get them engaged. You're all invited. I do a quarterly sort of faculty roundup is what we ended up calling it. So that's just fun. We play bingo and we usually have someone present. Last week or week before, it was 2 principal faculty members been with us a while, Charlie Menger and John O'Brien. John O'Brien is the longest standing faculty member of the university. And it was really a moment to kind of honor John. He's really put a lot of time and energy in this place, and I thought he needed to be acknowledged for that. But what we do, Paim and I meet pretty regularly. We have coaching sessions. You'll see when we get to the project management program, some of that was required. Some of the faculty were sort of doing kind of their, I mean, I think what they were told, but not following our standards. And so in doing those coaching sessions, I always bring up the Provost Scholarship, and have actually partnered up with several faculty members. We're working on one right now with Gen Z, teaching strategies for Gen Z. So that's kind of how we're doing it. I'm certainly open to pulling in Dr. Christine Malone to see if she has some faculty development ideas. And then I think someone had said to invite Joel to another faculty meeting, which I thought was a great idea as well. So we'll do that too. Student scholarship, that's definitely I mean, I hate to say a priority because we're so busy just trying to get D2L off the ground. It's like, I can't imagine a day when we're done with that will be beautiful, because that seems like that's all we do right now in the business programs, at least. But let's say that does end and we do have time. We would like to, I mean, Payam and I would like to work closely with Sumantra and Kathy Cox and bringing in more project-based optionality for students, giving them some scholarship options, some research options. They're definitely hungry for it. I hear it all the time in the classes that I'm in. I just don't have anywhere to send them. I don't even really have a career center to send them to right now. And it's just, we're such bare bones. It's tough to even imagine creating more on top of what little we have. So anyway, those plans are there. It's just we're waiting for resources. And I know Sumantra's got some irons in the fire trying to make that happen. The internship process itself was revised with myself and Dr. Malone when she was internship coordinator for us, and trying to streamline it. The issue isn't really the process. The issue is that students, there's no pipeline right now for internships, so they have to go find them. So we really need to do something about that. I just met with a student this week about it, and she's like, well, how am I supposed to find an internship? It was an international student. So I don't think we're doing a really good service to our business students right now in that area. I ultimately would love to hire someone, and I think Sumantra is on that, thank God, someone to do that work. Advisory committee information. So, here's the Joel comment. Yeah, so we'd like to have Joel come to one of our faculty meetings. So like I said earlier, the Industry Advisory Board, I disbanded it. Some of the members were connections from people who are no longer with the university. So, they're not coming back. We also had sort of a rotation going. So their tenure was up. It was time to bring new people on. Payam and I had just started, and we're working with Daniel to cultivate a new board when Sumatra was brought on. And so I think he has some notions of having just one board for the entire school, which would be great for me. So I'm definitely on board with that notion. Here's my plans for it. I think some of these ideas were in place prior to, but I think it's still true. So if it's a school-wide board, we will look at ACBSP mapping. I've started a lot of that mapping already, but I'd like to have that reviewed by board members. And all of this is the usual board stuff. What did Presley say? Yeah, definitely. Accreditation, the big news for the MBA program accreditation wise was we really kind of had our heinies handed to us by DQAB, which is the regulatory body in British Columbia. And wasn't a big surprise. I think we pretty much knew that was going to happen. I would recommend that we don't even offer the MBA program in Canada, that we offer the MSML, since there's less competition. But we went forward. The provost wanted to move forward with this particular initiative to try to get it offered up there. My take on what happened was they are protecting their territory, and they really had no intention of allowing us to offer the MBA program up there. And they gave us lots of reasons for it. They never actually looked at the MBA curriculum. We did offer, we sent it, we talked about it, but in the meetings themselves, it was really more about the CPC requirements. And then one of the board members gave us some CPC suggestions that ACBSP was against. And anyway, long story short is, I think a lot more work needs to be done there if they want to more, I would say, socializing the MBA being offered up there.
Laura, this is Greg. Is there another point along the timeline that you're going to be trying to get into BC again?
I think where we are right now is Scott has asked Steve Conway, what is his title? I don't know, doesn't matter. You all know Steve. I believe they've been tasked with hiring a consultant to specifically work on this task.
Sumatra actually had a comment in the, go ahead, Sumatra.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to go around, take an MBA run again in Canada.
Oh, okay.
We're going to take a run with a master's in management. Proposal should be coming. Keep in mind, the minimum approval will be 80 credit hours at the quarter level. That's 2 graduate degrees by US 10.
Yes, that was the issue with the MBA.
So, I mean, it's not even worth chasing that with any of our programs because nobody will buy that in the US. So it's going to be a Canadian only offer, and it's going to come across our desk, Laura, Payam, Presley, and Greg, probably in about another 3 months. And keep in mind, approval I just spoke to Steve and Mark yesterday. It's going to take 18 to 24 months for us to get approval. So we're looking at 2023 end before anything even sees the light of day.
Okay.
Laura?
Keep in mind as well that the DQAB is tough. We just had some issues in our program with the DQAB in BC. So they're not very open to very many things right now.
We got that impression, Heather.
I did look at the comments from DQAB. Some of them were not off the mark. It was the Dean of Rotterdam. I've hired from that school. They're a tier 1 school. So I think some of his comments were probably, you have to take it with a big bag of salt. But the fact is, unless you have an 80 credit, quarter credit program, it wasn't going to go forward.
Interesting. Very good. Laura, could I have you update this APAR with that data so that we know what's going on with the MBA going forward in BC?
Sure. You mean right here? Just like add it?
Yeah, you don't have to do it right now, but after the meeting kind of a thing.
Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Sure. And thanks for that, Sumatra. I didn't know. I do recall when he started, what was his name? Roger, sort of hammering me with questions. My take on that was there's no chance CityU would ever consider the MBA an 80 credits. Just no, this is a deal breaker. So good.
Before we celebrate too much, Laura, whatever program gets proposed over there, the development will be done out of here. So just keep that in. So let's not celebrate yet.
Oh, thank you. Priceless. Okay, so.
Laura, you're I can't hear you anyway.
Oh, sorry.
There we
My
go.
headset has a mute. I was leaning on it. So Sumatra hasn't seen this yet, so I need that's on my list to go over with you. Is this part of the so the CPC requirement is Common Professional Component. That's what it stands for. And it's part of ACBSP that if you do not have an undergraduate degree in business or related field, You cannot join the MBA program without fulfilling some sort of CPC requirement. There are now 13 CPCs. There used to be 12, now there's 13. So anyway, it is my ongoing effort to try to fulfill that requirement without like killing ourselves and putting up too many barriers for the kinds of students that come to our university. And so the latest proposal I've been working on with Melissa Meekum is a MBA prep cert, and that students could have, they could PLA out of options or CLEP out of certain classes or whatever, but to have it packaged so that we had something that students could enroll in that would fulfill each of the CPCs. So that's what this is, and that's in process right now. Yeah, thank you, Pat. And DQABs, yeah, I already talked about that. So D2L conversion, like I said, this is all we do. It's a massive amount of work. I think between Payam and I, we have 180 courses or something. This is all we do. We just type. My hands are vibrating by the end of the day, trying to keep up on everything else, but get all these classes teachable and ready for winter quarter is a massive effort, not just the MBA program, since we have a lot of courses. We don't have any data with this goal. We are working very closely with CCI. Anything else on that? That's it. Focus on faculty. That's an ongoing initiative. Yeah, we do have our quarterly get-togethers. We have lots of coaching that goes on. We have one-on-ones. We have three-on-ones. I'm opening up more requisitions to see if I can get more faculty to come downtown. I do need to work with Sumatra to come up with some more incentives. It's just like pulling teeth to get people to come down for $2,000 for 10 weeks, especially when they can get paid better working in the DBA program, or the MSML even pays better. China pays better, everyone pays better. And it's kind of the same faculty group. And then getting someone with a PhD is a big ask. So anyway, that's an ongoing effort. Students, equally important. Been talking with Melissa quite a bit about this career center. They're doing only remote it's all pre-recorded webinars. And our students are just not really thrilled with that. They feel like they're not getting any support. And I think, unfortunately, we have to change that we're promising that, or we have to start delivering. So these, especially international students, are coming here with the expectation that there actually is a career center and that there is a person who will work with them. So we have to do some work around that with internships and resume prep and such. Growing campus activities is also very important to us. We, as you all know, have done an MBA case competition. We canceled it last year because of the pandemic. We were trying to run it online. We had the thoughts of doing that, but we just didn't get enough traction to pull it off. But my hope is that we can hire someone to really focus on students and clubs and whatnot. The other thing I'm doing is, well, you'll see this with PMI, I'm not doing it with MBA. I think that's it. Yeah, I don't have anything in addition to what I've stated. Thanks, Pat. Any questions? Comments?
Laura, I think the only thing I'll add is, first off, the redesign, really nice work. I've taken a look at it from the outside. The market, though, while we predict gloom and doom, last year MBA market applications were up 18% nationwide. MBA is not going away, and our enrollment is down. And the fact is, if we're going to have a School of Business and Management without an MBA program, there is really no School of Business and Management. Yeah. Is the fulcrum. So we need to move the needle And the fight is going to be outside in the market. Internally, I think you have the building blocks.
Yeah.
Now you have to fight in the market. And that's where we're going to have to do program-specific marketing, which hasn't been done. The ecosystem. So
Yeah.
quite bullish about MBA growth. So thanks for everything. And I agree with everything you've written in the report, by the way.
Thanks, Sumantra. I'm sure you would have a lot to add. Yeah. It's a
Laura,
lot.
thank you. Thank you for putting that together, talking about it, helping us through the changes that are ongoing. And yeah, so let's turn this over to both Laura and Payam, and they've actually got these two programs, right? The health administration program, both bachelor and master, and also the project management program, bachelor and master. So how do you want to approach this? Do you want to just kind of talk about them collectively, HA first maybe, and then PM? Do it that way? Does that kind of work? Because they're very similar and there's not a lot of students in either program.
Yeah. I'll let Laura
That's fine.
decide, but that's fine because I think both programs, or the four programs, have been influenced by the same dynamics and waves. So it'll make sense, yeah, to talk about them at the same time.
Okay, so go ahead and tell us who wants to pull up their Teams page and kind of scroll through what, maybe do the bachelor of one of those programs first.
Sure, I can do it. Is that okay, Laura, or do you want to do it?
Oh gosh, no problem. I've been talking for a half hour. Go ahead. Pam.
Okay. I'll share my screen.
Try to get some water.
Yeah. Okay, please let me know if you can see the Teams page.
Yes.
All right, perfect.
So the healthcare first.
Yeah. ESHA.
Go ahead and make the image larger so we can read it better.
Yeah, definitely. Please let me know when it's.
That's good.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for reviewing the report and providing constructive feedback and comments. So I'm just gonna go over the comments and have a dialogue. So Heather, thanks for sharing the specifics regarding both positive aspects and those that could be tweaked for positive change. I'm curious how you were able to share both pieces with faculty. Yeah, so this is a really good question, and it does connect to a point that our new dean has mentioned multiple places, which is capitalizing on our strengths. And so Dr. Laura and I have been talking about, I'm sorry, I might get some messages for the D12 migration. So apologies for that. So we've been talking about these goal-oriented faculty sessions to have a dialogue about the patterns that I shared with everyone, and we need to have I guess more conversations with our dean on the structure and frequency of these sessions to be able to share our strengths and also talk about our weaknesses or areas for improvement, knowing about the demographics of our instructors. Our goal should be, I think it should be, to lead this conversation in a very facilitative manner so that our instructors won't feel pressured that so yeah, we're still trying to define that sweet spot. for these sessions to open this channel of communication. And it definitely, it has to be two-sided, two-way communication so that we could have a dialogue, not a one-sided conversation. So that's how that's what our plan is, and we're gonna figure out the details over the next weeks and months. Guess there's a compliment here. Thank you, Heather. Was the headcount retention data remote? So yeah, I think Laura experienced this as well. When we received the template, it didn't have any data, right, Laura? I think that's why we asked Anna.
Yeah,
and
it was
Daniel.
blank.
Yeah, it was blank. Yeah.
Let me comment on that. I checked back and I am not sure what happened. So the data that I received, the document I received, was sent to you, and I checked on that. So it's right. Something happened in the middle. No idea.
Yeah, because I
So there
checked with
was
Laura,
data.
yeah.
There was data to begin with, Greg.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Okay.
No idea. Yeah. Yeah, I checked with Laura and also had our admin check. Yeah, there was no data. So we asked them to come up with some data, but we want to, you know, share his data will be more reliable. So thank you, Sherry, for adding those numbers. So then we go here. Yeah, so the data is in line with some of the points that I mentioned as for the program's strengths and weaknesses. And you know, one thing I do want to talk about, I'm not sure if Laura had the opportunity yet to elaborate on this, but for both of these programs, or the 4 programs, bachelor's and masters, over at least in the past 2 years, there's been too many strategic directions. And Scott was actually, I appreciate his efforts, because you know, the reason for this fluctuating decision making wasn't Scott. It was coming from multiple sides. I guess it was NU and others. They were trying to find an ideal, I guess, modality for healthcare programs as well as PM. So over the last 2 years, we were given multiple directions, and then it changed. For example, at some point we met with Greg. What was the group that we were supposed to work with at some point? The folks from NU, or
NEP.
NEP, National
Education Partners.
And we spend lots of time, as Laura knows, meeting with them and defining, you know, our structure and all that. And then it as Greg knows, it all stopped. And so it was a concern at some point for among all SPM PDs, but then it shifted into, we may not even run these programs, and we might integrate them. So and as you know, any decision we make will translate into action items. We go from a strategic into a tactical framework, and more. So unfortunately, because of this changing status, or changing a status of these programs, we haven't. I find it wise that we haven't made any solid decisions, because we would be wasting our resources, financial resources as well as human resources. So we're still waiting. We're still waiting to hear the decision. I know our new dean has some ideas. I'm not. I think it's too early to finalize a decision on these 2 programs. But for instance, I think a good idea for the project management one, which I'll talk about later, is to offer certifications. And I think our dean has already started a conversation about extracting certifications from the PM programs. And but again, there's some constraints there. If we eliminate the program, then we'll lose our accreditation from PMI, the GAC. So that then at the level of leadership, they'll have to run some calculations to see if it would make sense to maintain the program, because maintaining a program also means spending lots of resources of all types. So I'll talk about those in a bit when I discuss the PM. So I wanted to share that as basically the foundation of this report. And any questions about that before I move into the other comments?
Good so far. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, yeah. So Presley, knowing the scores above his student, and I'm wondering if you have had thought of strategies. So this relates exactly to what I just shared, the online asynchronous modality is another decision that was made at some point. And I think I'm sure healthcare has already been converted into OA because that's what we have on our reports for the D12 migration. So we'll see how it'll do as a program in that new modality. From the former program director, the feedback Laura and I acquired, OA may not be the perfect format or modality for healthcare, although there are no team projects in the healthcare programs. So it's sort of in line with that structure. But then I believe based on the former program director's comments, students really appreciate the close connection with the instructors in that program, especially in some of the feedback I shared above. That there were comments on post-graduation communication that took place between students, between graduates and instructors who were helping them find job opportunities. So I'm not sure if those things will take place in this modality.
And the other thing I would add, Payam, is that we'll need to, this modality, since the programs for healthcare have been put into this new modality, at least in the learning management system, the courses are also still being offered on site. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying not to think that that's a problem. I'm thinking that learning is going to occur in the classroom, not in the learning management system anyway. So the instructor will just need to prepare the materials as they would any other class. But this course is no longer set for that. It's moved in a different direction entirely. So this is just sort of something that we're noticing, a gap between the current strategy and the one that we were working from. So what's going to happen with JBLM, which is where these 8 healthcare courses are running, I'm not exactly sure, but that's definitely a concern of ours and Sumantra's as well in trying to serve those students with an online asynchronous class structure.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. And this pending status also extends to how to really define the OA modality, because there's been also many conversations around that. It's supposed to be student oriented especially because of financial aid requirements. So then we'll have to figure out the sweet spot for the instructor-student communication, that's the type of assignments, the type of rubrics we use. So there's still a lot to figure out. And Presley's question is focused on one of these areas, which is how are we going to make up for that instructor-student communication? And I've looked at some the I've looked at the, some of the platforms and tools utilized by massive open online course providers such as Coursera. So we might be able to model after some of the approaches that they've been using. There's also the simulation world, and now with Facebook going into metaverse, but that's that might happen in the next 5 or 10 years. But so yeah, I've primarily looked at the platforms and tools used by by massive online course providers, and I've taken notes, and we'll discuss them to see what we can do.
Payam, can I make a comment
Yes.
real quick?
Yes.
So I knew the old program director for these programs, and I can tell you both, you and Laura both, and I'm sure you already know this, but because she was in the industry and she was super hands-on with her students.
Exactly.
And she knew the industry, she had hookups, she had all kinds of things. I honestly don't think these programs can survive without having someone running them that's in the industry. So that's just an opinion, but I wanted to put that out there that, that's kind of where I was going with my comment, is that, I just think these are very high touch people, and you're exactly right to point that out.
Well, thank you. Thank you for supporting that. I wasn't sure how to put it, but thanks, Presley, for reflecting exactly what was on my mind. And yeah, a good portion of the students came out of those connections and communications, the network that was established. So I'm not sure how we're gonna fill in those gaps. Also, the former program director, I witnessed this, and Laura witnessed this. She made multiple attempts to ask marketing, the previous marketing team, the marketing teams, I should say, for program specific marketing efforts, and it didn't happen. Simply, it didn't happen. And so what we see today is the organic outcome of everything, of the evolutionary path that these programs have gone through. So it's extremely important to I identify those components that have influenced these programs. The point that Presley mentioned, that was a component that contributed, influenced the program in a positive way. But then there are also many components that have influenced these programs in negative ways. So it's important to marketing is key, and I hope we can do better. We can do better than previous years, and hopefully we get more students. Thank you, Press. That was a really good point. Greg, so some things that other PDs have looked at this first to understand that. Yes. This is a good point to also inform the committee about some confinement, some limitations that I personally have, and Laura, I'm sure we have some common limitations. I'm personally in charge of it changes on a daily basis. I think 12 programs now. I would love to learn about the demographics of my students and instructors to be able to help in different areas such as marketing, but unfortunately there's only 24 hours in a day, and it's reached a point that Laura knows it's been tough. It's been tough, 15 to 16 hours a day kind of a thing. So I would love to have the opportunity, Greg, to sit down, look at my dashboards and all that. But if I do that, then, for example, right now I'm heavily involved in the D12 migration, then we won't have classes to offer, and I'm talking about our department is responsible to convert, I think I saw Esther's name here, about 168 classes for winter. So, and each class takes about four hours on our end to prepare. So then there's a number of hours for quality assurance. So altogether, I calculated we're going to have to spend close to 1,000 hours. And our deadline, SPM's deadline is December 10th. So it won't take much thinking to just gain a general understanding of my life as a PD. I would love to do all that, but there's literally no time. And I've been involved, as you all know, in very time-sensitive projects, very time-sensitive projects. And so I'm not going to express, hi, Esther.
Sorry, I have a cold, but I just wanted to say it is a huge amount of work. I just wanted to echo that, Laura. I'm here listening and dual multitasking with the head cold and the ear infection. So I'm just going to say you're doing great, though. It's a huge amount.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you and your team for all the work. It's been. I know it's a tough project, but I'm sure we'll do it.
I want to also just so that everybody knows what we're trying to accomplish here. Right now you're moving through the BSHA, but the MSHA report is very similar.
Right.
So that's why you're not pulling that up as well in this,
right.
in this particular portion. So I just want to let everybody know.
Yeah, as I mentioned, these two programs have been impacted by the same factors, internal and external factors. So we can have this sort of a baseline general conversation. Are you offering any incentives for faculty, such as a release time? I think we're going to discuss this with our new dean over the next weeks and months, and I'm sure we'll come up with some ways, some solutions and creative ways to promote that. It's a nice outline for developing an advisory committee. Well, that's that. Thank you, Laura, for the outline. It's all Laura, and I think one of our first things to get done with our new dean is to establish these advisory committees. So that's definitely on our to-do list. Heather, just a quick question. Your advisory board is a board and not a committee. I wasn't sure. I think it's a board, isn't it? Yeah, it's a board.
Yeah, it's a board.
I have to check, with all the abbreviations and at CityU, CCI, CIC, board, committee, I always have to check. Steve Brown, I'm interested in learning about key factors besides low enrollment that are going to influence this decision, such as market competition. Yeah, that's a great question for leadership. We haven't been involved in making strategic decisions. It's been mainly maintaining the program, taking care of the nominations, which is assigning instructors, and we're waiting. The status of these programs is pending. And I think both Presley and Greg were present during not last SPM meeting, but the one before, when Presley talked about OA. I think Scott made a comment that he's still making decisions, not sure if we're going to move forward with OA. So, and that was, I think, two weeks ago. So we'll have to wait. I'm sure Scott has his own challenges, and it's a big team, and we'll see what will come out of it. Do you have any suggestions? Yeah, thank you, Steve. Any suggestions or ideas for the new dean? Yeah, we meet a lot. We've been exchanging lots of ideas. we are currently in discussions. There's some options on the table, such as altering the program structure. So, reducing the time of completion, or extracting some certifications out of the programs. The other idea that Laura and I have been thinking about is integrating healthcare into PM, because that's also trending these days. Project management in healthcare, if you look up jobs on indeed.com, you'll see lots of them. So that's another option. But we can only present these ideas, and we'll wait for the leaders to make a decision. That's the end of the comments on healthcare. Laura, anything you want to add for the masters, or anything I missed?
No, I think they're identical.
Okay.
So thank you for doing that.
Oh, no problem. No problem. If there are no questions, I can move to PM.
Yeah, that'd be fine. So actually, if you could, because all of these are really, really similar. So if you could finish up maybe 11:45.
Definitely, yeah.
And the reason for that is once we're done with the PM program, what I'd like to do is excuse everybody from the CIC and just have a few minutes with Sumatra, yourself, Payam, and Laura, and talk a little bit about something that was made clear to me just a couple days ago. So if that would be helpful, that would be great.
Well, so you want us to stay at okay, sure. So,
yes.
Steve, team assignments, especially in online modality, have their challenges. What kinds of options as to so the thing with PM is a bit challenging, because we have the PMI's GAC accreditation. That's the global accreditation, and they have some specific requirements. I've been heavily involved in preparing those reports to renew our accreditation. I've been helping Scott and others. And Sherry, thank you so much for all the data you've been providing to us to include in our reports. So they do require team projects, and just project management by default, by nature, it's all about team projects. To share some history with you, a good portion of the students, and Laura can correct me if I'm wrong, came out of some contracts with Boeing. And I used to teach in this program back I started in 2014, and I designed some of these classes. So the demographics, the student population was sort of they had jobs at Boeing. They were super busy, and most of them were in the program just to finish their degree, to say that I now have a degree to their superiors. And they weren't too happy with the team projects, but they knew that they had to do them. So we've been providing options in some classes to students to complete some of the projects, some of the team projects individually. Back then, there were conversations around, using simulation so that we could replicate, a collective environment. But I was able to find some companies, but it didn't work out. So simulation is definitely an option, but to be able to maintain our accreditation, we definitely need to keep the team projects. But if it shifts into OA, it will impact the quality of of education that we offer to our students.
And do you have, within that accreditation, will it give you flexibility to set up the team projects in different ways, or are the requirements a bit more stringent?
So when you look at the papers, it's very black and white. But when the PMI folks come to visit, there's some room for negotiation.
Mhm.
So it's a matter of, again, the previous program director was actually serving as one of the accreditors for other schools. So she had established a really good network. And I think that played a key role in helping us maintain this accreditation for years. But since then, you know, yeah, the communication has been confined to emails about, you know, just preparing the reports for the sake of maintaining the accreditation. But I'm sure if we talk to them, we'll be able to find ways.
Yeah. Just know it. I know it's totally different and doesn't involve our accreditation, the group projects or things, but our group love it, and this is School of Education, but we love doing them, and we do them in all kinds of different forms, and actually find the variety of doing them in different forms one of the keys, so it doesn't just become same old and by rote.
Right.
I know it's a small issue and concern that you have and the big things you've talked about, but I just wanted to share that.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Steve.
Yeah.
The other comment from Heather: this analysis looks great. How will you share with faculty? The same approach I shared with you guys for the healthcare programs. The N is insignificant. Yeah. Yes, Greg, to answer your question, that's one of those. Esther knows that's one of our key items, key to do items for the migration. We have a whole column dedicated to making sure that all the rubrics are there, all the rubrics for the assignments that are linked to PDGs are there. So yeah, we're definitely making sure that that'll be taken care of. Yeah, thank you, Greg. Thank you for the compliment. Considering getting a jump in awareness, yeah, I think I covered this for the healthcare as well. Sherry, very good that it was identified and is being addressed. Are instructional standards defined in, yes, they are to some extent, but we also have our internal ones. And again, the same pending status, it needs to turn into a solid decision so that we can, you know, get all established with our framework and standards. Yes, when we first inherited the PM programs, as Laura knows. Laura, you want to elaborate that? You work more closely with instructors. The thing you witnessed, I think, yeah, it'll be good for our committee members to hear.
Yeah, so the PM instructors were directed to that they didn't need to participate in online discussions in their online classes.
That's true.
I can't see anyone's faces to see if you went,
Greg is laughing.
How did I find that out?
How about that?
So I tried not to be a jerk about it. So I said to myself, this is a problem, but I just started pulling them in one at a time, two at a time, three at a time, doing in general. This is, you know, because they get the shell check reviews from me, but I didn't want to, you know, alienate 10 faculty. They've been, you know, I thought maybe it was just one until I noticed it was everyone. And I said, oh dear, this is no good. So anyway, they've all been sort of schooled on what the expectations are for the different modalities. They were told that in lieu of online participation, they could just record a video and post it. So they thought, I'm doing such a great job. And I'm like, why are you posting these videos? I mean, that's great. But anyway, so, I mean, it's all good. I know these are really hardworking, committed people and want to do a good job. So I was definitely not wanting to put anyone in a, you know, you've messed up sort of moment. But this is how we do it here at CityU. So that's gone pretty well. I think part of the ish has been, I think some people just, it just wasn't a good fit anymore. And we do ask a lot of our faculty. I mean, you all know, you teach at other places, we ask a lot. So they had to decide and I always tell faculty, like, I will do the asking, please check with yourself. Are you willing to do this work for the pay? And you can say no. You can say no. But if you say yes, the expectation is that you'll do it. So anyway, it's definitely been a challenge taking over, but
Yeah,
we're moving along.
Yeah, especially, thank you, Laura, and especially the transition and, I should call it transition management for these programs have been challenging because the previous people in charge had established a comfort zone or a psychological contract, I should say, between them and others. And, for example, in the PM programs, now that we're going through the D12 migration, a good portion of those shells are pretty much empty. The modules are empty. And Laura and I, Laura has been working till midnight to come up with, contents and populate the modules. And it's not that we're just starting. We've been doing that since we inherited these programs.
Since we started,
the expectation or the contract was that, not a formal contract, was that instructors should bring their own contents. And then so those contents would only get copied to the live shells.
Right.
So the master shells would, remain empty. And then whoever did a great job, they were promised more classes. So after the transition, the contract with Boeing and other places, was over. So the numbers went down. We've had lots of cancellations each quarter. So as a result of that, we have many unhappy instructors because back then the program was doing well, classes were busy and populated. And now Laura and I, have this extra thing with lots of emails throughout the quarter, before the quarter, after the quarter. I used to teach these many classes in VM programs. Now you assign me to a class and it gets canceled.
Yes.
Not really us. So then we have to deal with these. Anyways, it's thousands and millions of these things that we need to take care of as part of our primary roles and responsibilities. So I thought to share too, because I'm sure one of the key goals of this committee is to gain a holistic understanding of the PD's world and the program's world. So I hope these insights were helpful.
Yeah, thanks, Payam. Appreciate it. And Laura, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the committee? Comments? Kudos? Oh, come on, some kudos.
Wow.
We've survived. We're surviving, Payam.
Well, as you can see, I'm turning into a caveman. So I really don't want to wear a hat, but I haven't left my chair.
It looks like a lovely place you're in, though. I don't know. What are you complaining about? It's beautiful.
I wish.
I'll just make a couple of observations if it's okay. Right. I think Presley's point, and I think Joel agreed on industry connections with HA. PMP, it's going to take a different route. On HA, I don't disagree with the comments, but when I look at the data for the last 3.5 years, even our peak enrollment with all these industry connections was 20 in the MHA program and 25 in the undergrad program. So we have to question whether we are meeting the student needs or not, and whether this is one where maybe we think we've designed the best mousetrap, but the market doesn't agree with us. So while I had a completely different point of view on MBA or BSBA, I'm not sure that I am completely aligned that our curriculum and our offer is meeting the market needs. The data tells me that it has not. So that's just something that is for you, for this committee to keep in mind as we move forward.
Thank you for that, Sumatra. Okay, so let's go ahead and end our meeting. And as mentioned, I would like just a few minutes with Sumatra, Laura, Payam, and the rest of the committee. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you for participating today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you feel
Bye-bye.
better, Esther. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.